Bennett of Manor Castle.
My lords, it's a pleasure to follow the powerful speech of the noble Baroness Lady Smith of Newnham, and I join many other noble lords in thanking the noble lords who brought this amendment. I will be brief because I wanted to ensure that as many members of your lordship's house as possible have the chance to vote tonight. But I must humbly associate myself with the highly powerful speech of the noble Lady Baroness Kennedy of the Shores, who made the crucial point of the international importance of our deliberations here tonight of this novel and innovative legal move. Which brings me to the first of the 3 points that I'd like to make, which is moving on from the comments of the noble and learned Lord Hope of Craighead in the earlier group of amendments, who said that the UK has been a leader for many decades in human rights moves forward. And I would say that the UK civil society, UK lawyers, UK campaign groups certainly have been, and governments of various stripes have often been dragged along behind them by those campaigners. And I think that's what we're seeing here again tonight. It's individuals in your lordship's house, it's campaign groups who are saying, we cannot tolerate the current situation, we have to act. And a couple of speakers back, the noble Baroness Lady Alone noted the Magnitsky sanctions, which is another new powerful weapon in the human rights armoury that has again developed from the action of US civil society, US campaigners. And I always like to highlight good news. And I think we can see in that pairing a real sign of good news, that while, as many noble lords have commented, the international community, the United Nations have been inactive, have been unable to act in hideous case after hideous case of genocide, we are seeing new attempts, new approaches, new ways of ensuring action. And that's why this is so important. My second point is I'd like to pick up a response to the noble Lord Lansley in the earlier set of amendments, who questioned the place of the courts. Now, the noble Lord Orton of Liverpool has already delivered, I think, an effective rebuttal to that, but I want to pick up one further point, which is that human rights, I think most people would probably agree, are universal. But that's very often not the way that governments or even parliaments have acted. It's tended to be that we use human rights as a stick to beat the people with whom we have other disputes, other conflicts. And we've just quietly turned the other way of people who are our friends for other reasons, or maybe even people who we saw as the enemies of our enemies, so therefore our friends. The nature of the courts is they don't have that kind of bias. They do have a universalist approach to judgment, and I think that's exactly what we need in terms of human rights. Now, my third point is we've heard a great deal of very strong arguments tonight about the moral case for this amendment and for the group of previous amendments. That is enough on its own. It really shouldn't need any more. But I think there is also a case to be made, a point to be made that is crucial, which is that defending human rights, speaking up for human rights, creating a world in which there is more respect for human rights, where there is, in the case of this amendment, simply attempts to stop genocide. This makes the world safer for everybody. It makes it more stable, more secure. So, my lords, this is not just morally the right thing to do, it's also in our self-interest to include this amendment. Thank you, my lords.